Alright, here we go, chain roll. So to start, we have 2 warm-up questions. So this one says d dx of f times g of 4. So what did we do if we have 2 functions multiplied together? We do the product rule. So I'm just going to rewrite it. So this is derivative of the first times the second plus derivative of the second times the first. And they're all with the 4. Alright, so here's the trick. So we rewrite it like that. The derivative, well, let's do g of 4, f of 4. Those points, if there's no primes, you're taking the y value at that point. If it is a prime, you're finding the slope at that point. Right? Derivative slope, not derivative y value. So watch, ready? Let's do f of 4 first. So I'm going to 4, to g of 4. Y value is -2. Let's do f of 4. Y value is 4. All right, now let's do the primes. F prime of 4. What is the slope at that point? So let me erase that. Let me find 2 consecutive points. So there's a point. Where's the next point? Right there. So let's see. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the slope of f at 4 is 3/5. So again, if you see a prime, you're finding the slope at that point. Let's do g prime. G prime of 4. So at 4, the slope is 1/2. Show of thumbs, that make sense? Easy? And now we just multiply them together. So I'm going to get -6/5 plus 2 over 1 becomes 4. So what? So someone put that in. I'll just do it. So what's this? 10. Hold on. Oh, so hold on. 5 to 10 fifths. So 4 fifths. Let me just double check. Four fifths. Done. So that is my answer to that problem. So if you have just a letter and a number, find the y value. A prime, find the slope at that point. All right, let's do the next one. I do believe it was a division one. F divided by g of -2. So division, quotient rule, low, d high. So I'm going to go g of -2, f prime of -2, minus g prime of -2, f of -2, over g of -2 squared. So I literally just did the quotient rule. Low, d high, minus high, d low, over low squared. So, g of -2. So now we're -2. We're over here. The g value is -1. F prime at -2. What is the slope there? Oh, that one's easy. That one's 1. Minus g prime of -2. What's the slope there? So down 1 over 2, so -1/2. And f of -2 is 0. G prime of -2, we said was -1. Squared is just 1. So let's just evaluate. That's 0, so that whole thing's gone. -1 over 1, or just -1. I'll just go F. So my answer is -1. Okay with that? Awesome. All right, chain rule. So the chain rule is just a certain order that you see things and how you're going to have to react to them. So it says when I have f, some function with another function inside of it, and both of them are differentiable, then we have to do something about it. So the rule is of f of g of x. We take the derivative of the outside times the inside times derivative of the inside. Right? Derivative of the outside times the inside times derivative of the inside. All right? Or if we have some function and then that next one is a function, so we take the derivative of the inside, bring it outside, derivative of the outside times the inside. It's pretty much the same thing, you just switch the order. So the best way to show that is to just do one. So I'm going to show you two ones. Let's do, before we had today's method, before we knew the chain rule. So old school, 3x minus 8 squared, I want to find a derivative. Let's just FOIL it out. So I FOIL it out. So I get 9x squared minus 24 minus 48x plus 64. That's h of x. So then we take the power rule with those. What's the derivative of 9x squared? 18x. Negative 48x is just minus 48. That disappears. That is h prime of x. Now I'm going to show you a shorter way to do that. Okay? Here it comes. So instead of having to multiply them all out and then take the derivative, we're going to do what's called the chain rule. So if we ever have the power rule, first thing we're going to do that. I'm going to bring the 2 down. Keep the 3x minus 8 to the first. Times the derivative of the inside. What is the derivative of 3x minus 8? The derivative of 3x minus 8 is just 3. And now we just combine them. So let's see, 3x to the 8 to the first. Sorry, 3x minus 8 to the first is just that. So I get 3. This 3 times 2 gets me 6. It gets us that same answer. And once you really understand what's going on with the chain, this is easier than having to FOIL those out and things like that. We're good? Yeah? Well, that's just the first one. Let's do another one. Alright, number 2. F of x is 5x squared, or x to the 5th. G of x is 2x minus 3. What is f of g of x? So let's think about that. F of g of x. This is something we did in Algebra 2. Right? So it's really, I'm taking this function and plugging it in here. So it's really becoming this. So let's just say that's h. F, right? You start here. If there was a number here, you plug that into g, get an answer, plug that into f. Alright, so I have h is 2x minus 3 to the 5th power. Alright, first thing I'm going to do is power rule. Bring down the 5. 2x minus 3 to the 4th. Times derivative of the inside. The derivative of 2x minus 3 is just 2. So I'm going to just combine those. So I have 10, 2x minus 3 to the 4th. That is my derivative. So the chain rule is usually do a power rule, keep the inside, raise it to 1 minus the exponent, times whatever by whatever the derivative of the inside is. Let's try another one. It says find the slope of the tangent line. So we got to find the derivative and then plug that number in. So my derivative, or f of x, is x squared plus 2x plus 3 raised to the 4/3 power. So first thing, I bring the 4/3 in front. So first thing, let's find the derivative. Bring the 4/3 in front. Rewrite that. Four-thirds minus 1 is 1/3 times the derivative of the inside, which is 2x plus 2. This is my derivative. And now I'm going to just take 4 and plug it in. Right? I do all that, you should get 40. Alright. I mean, I could then take it for one step further and say, hey, write the equation of the tangent line. We have 40, I have 4. I would plug 4 into the original, find its y value, then write that. But I just stopped at the slope of the tangent line. Alright, derivative of a square root, cube root, fourth root. Right? You gotta remember, a square root, it's really this question. And then it's just like the power rule we have been doing. Right? You bring the 1/2 down. So I'll rewrite it. 1/2. Keep what was inside. Take 1 away. Times the derivative of the inside. -2. And then I can look, look at that. That 2 and that 1 cancel. So I really just get 4 minus 2x to the -1/2. Or 1 over negative. Forgot that sign right there. All right, so there is a general rule. If you ever have a square root, if you look right in general, it has to differentiate a square root. This is what you do. Take the derivative of the inside, put it on top of the fraction, over 2 times whatever that square root is. Again, if you ever have a square root, take the derivative of what's underneath the square root, that goes on top, over 2 times whatever that square root is. Right? It's a little rule that you don't even have to do any of the work. If you remember that, you can just do that. All right. Couple more. All right, find the derivative of cosine to the 3rd x. Cosine to the 3rd x. So let's talk about cosine to the 3rd x. That's really cosine times cosine times cosine. Or, really, it is cosine x to the 3rd power. Right? You need to be able to understand that cosine 3x is really the cosine of x to the third. They're the same exact thing. Once I have that, I can then do my chain rule. Let me break down the 3, cosine x squared. Then we got to remember the derivative of cosine was negative sine. So let's just say that that's h prime of x. Part B says find the slope of the tangent line. So if they ever give you cosine and sine, the x value is usually going to be something in radians. Okay, so 7 pi over 6. So I'm going to go 7 times 180 divided by 6. It's really 210. So we can plug it in our calculator. So I'm going to plug it in just like that. 3. Hold on, let me make sure my calculator is in degrees. It's not. Make sure it's in degrees. 3 parentheses cosine 210 close parentheses squared negative sine 210. Right? I get 1.125 or about 9/8. Either of them, that was the slope of the tangent line. Or if you left it in radians, then you have to plug 7, 5, or 6 in, like that. Alright, so here's another generalized one. If I ever give you sine of u, sine of some function, this is what you do. You take the derivative of that function and then put cosine u. If I give you cosine u, it's negative the derivative of that function u, sine u. All right, there are little rules that if you have memorized, it will save a lot of time. All right, so ready? Find the derivative of sine x squared minus 2. So the rule says take the derivative of the inside. Derivative of that is 2x. Change sine to cosine and just rewrite it. So 2x cosine x squared minus 2. Or the 2x can be in the back on the outside of that parenthesis. That's fine. I like putting it in front. Last couple. Use chain rule. No, sometimes you could use chain rule more than once. So that's when we start getting tricky. You got to pay attention to what's really happening. And when is that happening? Okay? So first, I see the square root of cosine 5x. First thing I go is, all right, that's really cosine 5x to the 1/2. So first thing I do is you have to do that power rule. Bring the 1/2 down. Then I need to take the derivative of the inside. That's usually what goes there. How did we do that? Let's go back to that little trick we just learned. Where'd it go? Right here. Cosine u says take the derivative of the inside, obviously, and then negative sine of that. So let's go back. Back button. So I'm going to go, derivative of 5x is 5. I'm going to negate it because derivative of cosine is negative sine of 5x. So this is our derivative. I mean, I could clean it up. I could put that. Yeah, let's do that. So this is going on the bottom of our fraction. So I'm going to go negative 5 sine 5x on top 2 cos 5x. That would be our derivative. Either one of those would be my answer. All right. And all right, so now, last one, sine squared 2x. So that just means I have sine 2x times sine 2x. So it's really sine 2x squared. So first thing I have to do is take the power rule. Bring down the 2. Then times the derivative of the inside. The derivative of the inside is another chain rule. So I take the derivative of the 2x and I get 2. I'll just put in a different one. Derivative of sine is what? Cosine. Questions? Okay, good. Alright, and then the last one, find the slope of the tangent line. I just plug in pi over 3. Pi over 3 is 180 divided by 3 is 60. Or I can plug in pi over 3, but I'm going to keep it 60. 2 times sine of 2 times 60 times 2 cosine 2 times 60. Right, I do that, I'm going to get some funky decimal, just because I'm looking at my answer key, so let me go square root, negative, perfect. All right.